Perennial vegetables, vegetables that come back every year without replanting, are the key to low maintenance, highly productive forest gardens. They're also key to achieving stability. Many of the biggest complaints that I hear from new forest gardeners could all be fixed by planting more high value, useful perennials. You'll see this wisdom reflected when you learn about the great, successful forest gardens, both the traditional examples and modern ones like Holyoke Forest Garden and Martin Crawford's Food Forest, where there's a huge emphasis on the herbaceous perennial plants in the understory. With an overstory of productive trees casting shade and competing for nutrients and water, the understory crops need to be tolerant of shade, and they also need to be able to thrive in cooperation with the trees. While annual crops like peppers that need to be replanted every year are more productive in full sun, most perennial vegetables have an edge when it comes to the forest. Perennial vegetables also have major benefits of being lower maintenance and not requiring you to dig in the root zone of the trees. Luckily, there are many perennial options to choose from, and these are some of our favorites, starting with what we consider the best of the best. Egyptian walking onions are like having three onions all in one. They've got great top set, what we call pearl onions that you see in the picture. They have a decent storage onion that's at the base and just abundant green onions all year round, even here in Michigan. They grow in full sun to light shade and are incredibly resilient and productive. This is probably the most used plant that we grow here. Sorrels and blood vein sorrel, these are beautiful perennial spinaches, and they're great for the garden and great for your salads and your soup bowls. They function as fortress plants, meaning they keep the grasses and the weeds from encroaching in on your garden. Asparagus. Almost everyone loves this well known perennial vegetable. It's a natural in the forest garden where it thrives in light shade on the forest edge. Many local conservation districts sell asparagus, which gives you a chance to support local conservation efforts if you buy through them. Allium unifolium. It's less well known, but it is a shining star in our garden. It has very flavorful flowers, delicious bulbs, and spicy leaves that are excellent garden fare. It is also really beautiful. Chives and garlic chives, technically two different plants, but both are extremely useful in the forest garden. Turkish rocket, shown here with Allium unifolium and Egyptian onions. A really vital forest garden plant, incredibly productive in forest garden conditions with little care or maintenance. It produces a broccoli like vegetable in mid spring, long before any other broccoli would be ready. The rocketini, as we call them, the little broccoli, are the main show, but every part of this plant is edible and pretty darn good with a kind of a nice zesty arugula flavor. The yellow flowers are also a favorite of bees and gardeners alike. False phlox or evening dame's rocket. In our taste tests here at Lily House, this broccoli substitute won out against Turkish rocket and even broccoli itself sometimes. This stunning perennial produces flower shoots with a tender texture and a sweet pea like flavor. Unfortunately, most specimens have hairs on their stalks that can be unpleasant unless they are well cooked or peeled. Another consideration is that it is sometimes considered invasive. Potatoes. That's right, potatoes easily perennialize and thrive in the forest garden. Just make sure to plant them in diverse polycultures to prevent the buildup of soil disease organisms. Bulbing fennel. Everyone knows that bronze or herb fennel is fully perennial, but so is bulbing fennel. This star of high priced grocery aisles and award winning restaurants is perfectly at home in the forest garden. It also works as an insectary plant. Some sources consider it allelopathic, though, so careful where you plant it as it may affect the germination and the growth of other plants. Of course, that may also be used to stifle the growth of weeds. Perennial endive. This perennial green can be harvested throughout the worst Michigan winter by cellar forcing it. It provides a beautiful, tasty green all summer long, too. So there's the top 10, but personally, I don't think I could live without any of the plants on this list below. And including these perennials is probably the best thing you can do to increase the utility of your forest garden.